The Dads That Game radio podcast is brought to you by Video Games Monthly. Video Games Monthly is a monthly subscription service that delivers retro video games to gamers who own classic gaming systems from the 1980s through 2000s. And the best part is, you keep the games. Check us out at videogamesmonthly.com.
Live from his wife's basement, still gaming into their elder years. This is the Dads That Game radio podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Michael Wolf and William Small.
Welcome to the Dads That Game radio podcast. That's right, we're out of the cave. We're back. I flew back from Las Vegas, drove to Chicago, came back from Chicago to Iowa, and now I'm back here with all of you. Hello. Hey, Will. How's it going, buddy?
Hello. Hey.
Yeah.
Good. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Was Vegas the cave, or was Chicago the cave?
I don't
know. Or
know.
were you just in a random cave?
I think I was just in a random cave. It was ridiculous. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, make sure you go to www.noobsandpros.com, click on the podcast tab, and check it all out. I was in a cave. It was crazy. I don't know why I was in the cave.
He was.
It was just really fun to be in the cave.
Is it like being in a glass cage of denial?
I don't know.
Or emotion?
I don't. Nothing can harm me.
Glass cage of emotion.
Yeah, nothing can harm me. Yes. This is show 103 for those paying attention at home. Hey, congratulations to Corey, by the way. He was the winner of our contest. Email Mike and get a prize. It was that easy, and he did it. You bunch of slackers. So your prize is in the mail, buddy. It should be in the mail any day now, actually. I'm sorry. I haven't sent it yet, but I will, I promise. But make sure you check us out, www.noobsandpros.com. Thursday nights, we're still on the podcast radio, I think. But we're on the Crikey and TuneIn app. Crikey, tune it to 102.6. The TuneIn app. Just search for the Podcast Radio Network. Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Check us out there. Thank you to our friends at Player One Coffee. Go to their website, playeronecoffee.com. Just type in Dads That Game at checkout for 5% off your order if you're a first-time buyer of theirs. But yeah, let's talk about my trip. I told you it was going to be a busy week. Dear God, it was. I'm very disoriented from the time shift and lack of sleeping that I got. So it was I went down there for work, but it was a nightmare getting into Vegas. And what I mean by that is I left from here, from Iowa, went down to Texas, because I had a layover in Texas and then Texas to Vegas. But I got into Texas. My plane didn't leave until roughly about 10:30, which was fine, because it's a 2-hour difference behind. So I would have gotten in about 10 o'clock Vegas time if the plane would have left on time. But the plane was delayed because of weather getting into Dallas, so I had to wait until basically it was like 11:30 by the time the plane came in, and I'm all like, okay, fine. Plane finally gets in, and then the loudspeaker lady comes on, and she's like, we don't have a crew. Yeah. So
right.
Yeah, she's like, we're one short. We called somebody, they're coming. But unfortunately, we can't leave, obviously, if we don't have we have to have a minimum of 4 people running this flight. So I was like, oh, God. So we waited until roughly, it was about 12:30. Gentleman finally showed up, and people were clapping, like, yay, now we can get the heck out of here, because we've been waiting, at that point, I've been waiting, because I got into Vegas, probably around, it was like 7, 8 o'clock, and I was just waiting. And my long point of the story is basically I spent about 6 hours in Dallas, Fort Worth area, which lovely airport, huge airport, nice. Great airport. Just sucked for the service. But I got in. The guy finally got in. They were like, okay, the guy's here, but because our flight's been delayed so many times, we have to get reauthorization from the tower to leave again. And at that point in time, then I heard people cussing, like, "Are you effing kidding me?" And da da da. Like, that's when people are getting really upset. But that only took 30 minutes. But the point is that we did not leave Dallas until 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's a 2-hour flight. I got into Vegas about 2:00 because the 2 hour difference. Got into Vegas at 2:00. Yeah. Went to the carousel to get my bag, and they threw my bag on an earlier flight to Vegas. And I basically was freaking out because I was like, oh, great, my bag's gone. But then I went to the check-in thing, and they had my bag already. So I got my bag. I was happy with that. Just really wish I knew that they threw it on an earlier flight so I didn't have to stand around the carousel, for 15 minutes, 20 minutes and just wait for it. But I got my bag finally. I got a lift and went to the hotel. By the time I got to the hotel, though, and got checked in, about 2:30 in the morning. And I did not get to bed until 3, and I got up at 6 because I had to get ready to work.
That's par for the course for Vegas, though. You're supposed to get there at 2:00 in the morning, stay up all night, and be all red-eyed and miserable.
No. It was bad. So, but I always say I was there for work, not fun. So, I mean, I was there for a union training. Yeah. So I was in union training like all day. Thankfully, I got a nap that afternoon. I went down to Fremont Street on Monday night after settled down and everything like that and got some rest. I went to this really cool toy store that they have down there. It's the guy, I don't know if you guys ever watch, what was it? The Pawn Stars. Yes, Pawn Stars. But it's the guy that does the appraisals sometimes when people bring in toys to Pawn Stars. He owns a shop down on Fremont Street.
Oh.
So it's his store.
Cool.
But it was a really cool store. I mean, they had like a ton of vintage toys. They had like every G.I. Joe you could ever imagine. He-Man, Evel Knievel dolls. I mean, they just had everything that you could ever think of. Like, oh wow, that was from my childhood. Like they had it. So it was fantastic going down there and seeing all that stuff. But then Tuesday night, I was like, okay, I was thinking to myself, I was like, should I go down to the Luxor and see the esports arena? But everybody wanted to go to Fremont Street that I was working with. So we went down there. And then Tuesday night, I was like, okay, I'm going to the Luxor because I really want to go see esports arena. But the funny part is that in Vegas, if you go down one street, it's very easy to get lost. And I will have video of this whole excursion up on noobsandpros.com, so please check it out at your earliest convenience. I will get it up as soon as I can. I'll be working on that today. There's also footage that we took from Combo Breaker as well, and I'll talk about that in just one moment. But the funny part is that I was at the Tropicana. I took a left, and I did not go over the bridge to the other side of the street to where the Luxor and everything like what was, because I was thinking, oh, well, there's got to be a bridge. There's got to be a bridge on the left-hand side of the street. No bridge. So I walked and I walked and I walked and walked, and by that time, like, I kind of did the man thing to where I was like, I'm not lost. I know where I'm going. Don't give me directions. And I just kept walking, and I was like, should I turn around? I'm like, no, shut up. You're fine. Just keep walking. I walked so far down the left side of the street, like across the street from, the Luxor.
You in the desert?
I was in the sketchy part of town is where I ended up. I saw a homeless dude like on the side of the street with feces up his backside. So I definitely saw some interesting things. It got really scary at one point because I basically was in front of a motel where it looked like people had been murdered. It just gave that vibe. So at that point, I'm like, I'm going to call a Lyft. I'm like, I'm super like really worried right now that I'm going to get stabbed or something else. So I called the Lyft, got out of there. He took me across the street. That's all I wanted to do, just go across the street. But I finally got to the Luxor, walked into the esports arena, impressed, just beautiful. If you've never been to the Luxor is a very beautiful hotel. Just unreal how clean and immaculate it is. They do a very, very nice job at keeping that place up. So if you ever wanted to stay anywhere in Vegas, I would highly recommend the Luxor just because it's just unreal. So got into the Luxor, got into the esports arena, talked to a very lovely young lady named Jordan, and she seemed to be running the place. I don't think she was the manager, but she knew what was going on. She told me all about the facility. I have an interview with her. But then she told me, she's like, unfortunately, I can't let you into the arena tonight because World Poker Stars are in there. And I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, I came all this way. I was like, I'm never going to be able to see the inside of this arena. So I filmed everything outside of it. But she said, hey, what? She's like, I'll tell you what. She's like, if you can be here tomorrow when we open at noon, which was great because I only had an early session in the morning for a union training, and then I was free because it's a travel day. But she's like, if you can be here tomorrow at noon, she's like, I promise you. She's like, I will give you a tour. I'll let you go around. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I got out of the session, and then I shot right over to the Luxor. She was still there in the morning, thank God. And she gave me a tour of the inside place before World Poker Stars started playing there. But I didn't. She told me, and this is on the interview too. I won't ruin the interview for you. But she told me that was the place where Ninja did his 100,000 night, where he had 100,000 followers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was in the arena is where he did it. So that's very cool.
Nice.
And they did a lot of Fortnite stuff. It was really funny because when I was watching it, like when I was watching everybody else play, like every screen in that whole arena, they were playing Fortnite. Like, not even kidding. Like, I maybe saw one kid play Overwatch, but everybody else was playing Fortnite. So apparently,
Fortnite is becoming so ridiculous that like, my daughter had a lip sync contest. Well, not contest. It was just like a lip sync thing where like the school, everybody that wanted to do it, did their thing.
Yeah.
And so many of these little kids, even little kids, the dances that they were doing, lip syncs that they were doing, were all Fortnite dances. And not only that, but they would do it, and then I heard parents going, "Oh, look, another Fortnite dance." Yeah. Even the parents you look at and you go, "Oh, they're not. They don't have any idea." Right. No, they even knew it was a Fortnite dance.
They know what's going on.
So it was just ridiculous.
Well, and I know obviously this week too, this is not a part of the news, just because I figured everybody knew already, but Fortnite, just announced they're putting $100 million behind their tournament. That's insane. Wow. Yeah. So apparently it's a
walking around money.
Yeah, apparently it's a big deal. It's a lot bigger deal, and I kind of wish I would have played it from the get-go. Maybe I'd be halfway decent by now, but I only played the single player and then got really kind of bored with it because I was like, PUBG and all these other games. So yeah, it happens. But I had a blast. I did have a lot of fun at the esports arena. Obviously, I wasn't there for fun. I was there for training. So, don't be like, well, Mike was just down there for fun. No, Mike was down there for training. I was in class 8 hours a day. And then at night, then I got to go see the city and walk around and stuff like that. I did not gamble, though. Not even once. So
that's cool.
Yeah, not even once. I was kind of proud of myself because I was like, you know what? I was like, I think to me, my mindset is that we have a casino and where I live. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. So why
would I, blow my money? It's something, if I really wanted to blow my money, I can just go down to my local casino. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's not like you're going to show me something I've never seen before. So, it's still everywhere. But the one thing I really noticed about Vegas has changed in like the last 6-7 years since I've been there. Because I was down there for a bachelor party with my buddy. We talked about that before. And it was filthy. Yeah. It was just absolutely filthy. And the reason being is because they used to hand out those cards for, basically prostitutes, like on every corner. Like they just hand them out like candy, and there'd be cards
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah. Could not find one person. And we asked, we're like, where are these people?
And Mike was really looking.
No, I wasn't. No, trust me, I wasn't. Thank you.
You couldn't find a single.
Couldn't find a single hooker in this whole town. Yeah, but like, what the hell? I was promised hookers. Yeah. No, I talked to I was talking to my Lyft driver, and he told me, he said that apparently because a lot of that stuff is tied to human trafficking, they said they've really cracked down on it, and it's such a benefit for the city of Las Vegas though, because it doesn't look like an S-hole anymore. So it actually looks clean and presentable, and a place you could actually take your family to. Like, it's nice now.
Yeah, I haven't been there since. I don't think I've been there since 2005.
Sure,
that's the last time I was in Vegas.
Yeah, so I mean, you remember the dirty Vegas? Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I was there. That's exactly what you described. It was literally
just
spot
trash everywhere.
Was covered with little cards for any kind of activity you could think of. Right. So it was pretty awful.
They've totally cracked down on it now. But what they do now though is they have cars that just drive around with billboards on them that say, call this number, we'll send them up to your room.
Escort,
but they,
whatever it is,
right. So, but they, the little cards that were just everywhere, and like most of the construction, there's still construction going on, obviously, but a lot of the construction on the main strip is done. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Like it looks really nice. Well, that's
cool.
So I was impressed by the city of Las Vegas this time, because when I went before, I was like, it's dirty and it's like it's not that fun. And now I'm like, man, it was really cool, because it's like the strip was all cleaned up, people weren't jerks, and it's like I had a good time. So I was happy. But I was coming home, so the trip doesn't the tragedy of my trip to Vegas doesn't stop there. So I was coming home Wednesday, like late.
Mm-hmm.
I left probably, my flight was at I think it was like 4:00. So, but like I left from Vegas to Phoenix, no problem. And the flight from Vegas to Phoenix is only like probably 30 minutes. So I got there, and then when I was in Phoenix, I had probably another hour layover before I got to go home. But the lady on the loudspeaker, once again,
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've oversold this flight. We're going to need 3 volunteers.
Oh,
yeah, we're going to need 3 volunteers that are like, we'll give you $500, in cash, or $500 credit towards a flight. They said, we'll put you up in a hotel and we'll get you on the next flight in the morning, which is like 8:00. And I was like, there was 2 thoughts that came to my mind. I was like, if I didn't have to work in the morning, I would totally do that, because then I'd have $500 to fly wherever I wanted to. But then I was also like, oh God, I was like, if somebody doesn't get volunteered, I'm wondering who they're going to bump, if this is going to turn into a situation to where somebody's going to get dragged off a plane. And I was like, I'm never going to get home. So it just, thankfully 3 people came forward and volunteered, so it wasn't a big deal. But just anything you can think of besides the plane crashing happened to me while I was trying to fly to these places. So, or the window busting out. That never happened either. So thank God for that. All right. Yeah. But no, it was a cool trip. I mean, after I did the esports, I think after I did the esports and I got my hoodie and I actually got to play there. I put pictures up on our Instagram page. If you guys aren't following this, go to noobsandpros.com, click on the podcast. You can find our Instagram page there. You can find our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch page. It's all on our on the noobsandpros.com. So please go check it out accordingly. You can follow us and you can see everything we're doing. I'm going to start doing a lot more video streaming coming up. So is Will. We're going to be fortunate enough to start that up again very soon, actually.
Yep.
But the soon, very soon. But the cool thing was that I got in Wednesday, worked Thursday, and then I left Friday. I went to Combo Breaker. I did not realize how big of an event Combo Breaker actually is, though. Like, it's massive.
Yeah.
And it's a small space. Like, they could put this thing in bigger spaces, and I think it would do just as well. But it's in West Chicago, for one, which if you've not been to West Chicago, lovely area. It's to me, it's like West Des Moines. Like, it's big, but it's not crazy city big. Like there's enough stuff to do here that'll keep you occupied. There's bars, there's restaurants, there's malls. But it's not. You don't have to deal with like skyscrapers and traffic. Is how I describe West Des Moines. Because Des Moines, like, we have a downtown area which has the skyscrapers and traffic, but it's just all business down there. There's really nothing fun down there, except for a couple of things like Science Center and stuff like that. But but West Des Moines, obviously, we have Jordan Creek Mall, which is the biggest mall here in Iowa. We have shops, we have restaurants everywhere. So West Chicago is a lot like that. Just really super clean, easier to get around into. Like 4-lane traffic. But I mean, it's still it wasn't busy. I think because of Memorial Day weekend, obviously. But I did not realize how many people actually go down to Combo Breaker, because I mean there was probably a good 10,000 people in this place. So nothing small.
That's crazy.
Nothing small. But the crazy thing is like the event venue that they have is like it's no bigger than an airport hangar. So it's just packed to the gills of people. But we met really cool people. We networked a lot. We met some people from Astro Gaming, trying to work with them. We met some really cool people that made these third-party independent games, which are called Death Ball and Galactic Battleground, which I'll get into in just 1 minute. And I'm actually going to name those the games of the week. But I had a blast, man. We saw the Guilty Gear tournament. We saw the Mortal Kombat 9 tournament, Dragon Ball Z tournament, Smash Brothers tournament. I saw a lot of tournaments. We got a lot of cool footage and pictures up right now on noobsandpros.com. So if you want to go check them out, go check them out. I will get the videos of the interviews that I got with Dupree. He's a fighter, actually out of Des Moines. He was down there. We actually know him. He's a really cool guy. But I just had a lot of fun. I mean, I just didn't realize how big fighting games were until I actually went to Combo Breaker. And this is not even the biggest one either. The biggest one apparently is down in Vegas. It's Evo, which I'm sure everybody's heard of, but that's coming up soon. And Dupree is actually going down to Evo. But I did not realize I guess just as many games that are out there, many fighting games that are out there, there's huge followings for them. Like huge followings. Right. Like the Guilty Gear tournament was a 300-person tournament. And then the Dragon Ball Z tournament. Yeah, the Dragon Ball Z tournament was like, 3 times that many. It was 3-day tournament. Because they had polls. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is how they break it down. They had polls, which are basically like you have groups that you fight in. You go from there, and then you go to qualifying rounds, and then you go to semifinals, then finals, and then the championship. But just unreal on like how many people were down there, and then just all the fighting games. Like each one had huge followings. So I mean, tons of fun. We got a lot of pictures and a lot of cool people we met. I would say I would definitely do it again next year. I think Brian from Noobs and Pros, our main guy from Noobs and Pros, he said that he's going to try to get a team together and go down there next year. So that would be really, really cool to see. So actually, if you're listening to the podcast today and you'd like to try out for our esports team, please contact us. Just go to noobsandpros.com. Send us an email message. Send us a shout out, whatever you need to do. And we'll start putting stuff together. I think at Battlegrounds we're going to start doing a lot more with trying to build that team. So maybe doing a competition every time at Battlegrounds to see who's serious about it. So it'd be really neat. But no, it was a jam-packed weekend. Super busy. I did everything in 1 week, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do. My equilibrium is still like super messed up, and I don't know what's wrong with it, but every now and then I get really dizzy, and that did not happen until I got off the plane. So I don't know if I maybe messed something up or clicked something, but I've been dizzy a lot this week. So I don't know if any doctors are listening. Maybe you want to give me a shout out. So, but I'm okay. But how did your weekend go, buddy? I mean, I haven't talked to you all weekend, and I mean, this is probably the first we've talked, and since last show. So, what have you been up to?
It was busy. I mean, I didn't do anything exciting. Like there was no parties for me or anything like that. And in fact, I was what day was it? Saturday evening. Everybody was partying around me. I could hear people, the neighbors having cookouts and
Memorial Day stuff.
I was just I was just sitting on my back porch, just having a drink and just being like, yep, it's just me and the dog just hanging out. So that was that. But then, the rest of the weekend, it was, typical, whatever. But, at least it's a 3-day weekend. I have, like you, I have today off. So, it just, it's nice to be able to go, oh, all right, even though it's Monday, it's really, in my brain, I've thought of it as today is actually Sunday.
Sure.
So the work week's just going to go quick. But nothing too exciting. I haven't really, I'm actually in one of those spaces where right now I'm playing South Park on the Switch.
Oh, okay. Is it just as good on the PlayStation or anything like that, or?
It looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And the only difference is that there are some pretty big load times in weird places.
Really?
There weren't really like in the PlayStation version of it. The very, very minimal, like quick when you go in a door to like one of the houses, whatever, it's almost instant. Whereas here, even just going into a house or sometimes even just changing from one screen to the next screen when you're walking on the map, there'll be this load time that lasts like 30 seconds. And I mean, it's not a huge deal because the game never lags, never has anything that looks any different
but just
than the other consoles versions. Just that huge loading time is just cuckoo. But pretty much all I've been playing, I keep turning on my PlayStation and then going, wait, no, I have nothing to play.
Right.
I'm all set. And then shutting it back off.
You're starting to sound like me. Like I have 900 games, and I'm like, I have nothing to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's me too, is like I literally just installed on my PlayStation or even in my library. I have so many games that I could readily play that I haven't even finished.
Right.
And I'm just like, yeah, I don't have anything to play.
That's my problem. Yeah.
But, I'm trying to finish South Park just because it's funny. It's not as good as the first game.
Sure.
I mean, I like it. But, again, I think the critics all said the same kind of thing, like, it was magic. It was such a good game. The story was really funny.
Right.
This one, it seems like it's like the next day after the first game ends. And so it almost seems like they had a good idea, but didn't have a good story to go along with that idea.
Sure.
So, I don't know. This one seems almost boring in a lot of it. So.
Right, instead of the story. I haven't even finished it yet. I need to go back and finish that one too. There's so many games I need to finish. So. Yeah.
And I didn't get Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
I was going to, but they said it's about 10 hours, and they also said that it's just like other, what is it, Quantum
Heavy Rain and stuff like that. Quantum Dreams.
It's just like their other games like that.
Games.
It's got better, better controls and stuff. I mean, I played the demo. Even so, the story isn't amazing. It's just good. So I figure I'll wait.
Well, I'm gonna figure I'm gonna. Yeah, that was my deal too. Is, I mean, you got holidays right around the corner. Might as well just wait. So.
Yeah,
but no,
there'll be a big sale on it soon enough.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, and I mean, there's still rumor that the Steam Summer Sale is breaking soon, so hide your wallets for that one, dear Lord.
Yeah.
But the two games, I'm going to make 2 games this week, the game of the week, and that was because I actually got to try them at Combo Breaker, which I'm in the works right now. Don't hold me to this, but I'm talking to the gentleman from Deathball. I'm also going to call the guy from Galactic Battlegrounds and see if we can get these games down at Battlegrounds. So it'd be interesting to see if they can actually come out, because they're out of Iowa is where these games were developed. I played these games and they're fantastic. But the first game I want to talk about is Deathball. It's a very, very interesting game. It's basically like it's a soccer game, but it's like you're 2 wizards. So it's 1v1. And you're 2 wizards that have like little the ability to make like little magic balls, kind of like you can shoot magic force fields and stuff like that. But it's like you play soccer against each other, and there's different ways you can set up the goals. So it's not like just a flat field. Like there's platforms, and then there's pits and stuff like that you can set up. So it's almost like Towerfall meets. What's the game with the soccer ball and the RC cars? What's that name of the game?
Rocket League.
Rocket League. Thank you. Drawing a blank. Rocket so it's League, like it's like a mixture of Rocket League and Towerfall, kind of. Almost like Killer Bee. I don't know if you ever played that game. That's a local game around here too. Killer Queen, that is. I'm sorry, not Killer Bee. But just a really, really cool independent game. He plans on bringing it over to the Steam independent games list one of these days. He said he's really just trying to focus right now on cabinets and stuff like that, which is awesome, because that's kind of where his passion was. He made this. It was a $6,000 cabinet, just beautiful cabinet. That he brought over to Combo Breaker, and he had the joysticks and stuff like that. He also has a travel version, which he said that he would bring the travel version to Battlegrounds. I need to call him about that. I'm gonna do that this weekend. But just a fun game. For anybody that was at Combo Breaker, if you got a chance to play it, definitely recommend it. The other game that was at Battleground as well, and this game's actually been touring Iowa too, and it's been in Wisconsin at like the games. I don't even remember the convention name. It's like Games Convention or something like that. But it's called Galactic Battleground. It's basically your 2 spaceships. It's kind of like Space Invaders meets Asteroids, but it's all dueling. So it's a 4-player game. You play on, it's 2 teams of 2, so it's 2v2. And what you do is basically you choose, your spaceship, you choose your power, and then like 2 spaceships are at the top, 2 spaceships are on the bottom, and then in the middle is a whole field of asteroids. And basically the objective of the game is to kill the other, team. So it's like I said, it's like Space Invaders meets Asteroids versus, basically, but all like, versus each other. Tons of fun. But I would say those are the 2 games of the week that I want to bring up though, because I got to play those at Combo Breaker. The other game that I got to play at Combo Breaker, so now I have something in common with you though. I got to play Soul Calibur 6. That game's amazing.
Yep.
Unreal.
It was definitely fun. Yeah.
A lot of fun. They only had probably a good 4 fighters that you can choose from. They don't have all the fighters in there as of yet, but just fun.
Right.
And I think once I figure out how to play it accurately, I'll be pretty good at it. So a lot of fun though. There was a kid that we were playing. He kicked our butt pretty good. So, but we were at Combo Breaker, so any kid could kick my butt there. So, those guys are like professional fighters. So, but just a lot of fun game. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. Obviously, once the full game comes out, I'm gonna grab that one though, definitely. So, but yeah, finally have something in common with you is that we both played Soul Calibur 6. So there you go. So, but let's talk about other video games you can get yourself hands on. Your hands on, that is, not hands on. Hands on. I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. But this is going to cover you obviously from today, the 28th, and if you paying attention at home, yes, we're recording on Memorial Day, just because it's easier for us to do it on Mondays, on holidays sometimes. Plus, after the weekend I just had, it was the only option we had. But today's the 28th. Obviously, this will cover you from the 28th all the way up until the 2nd. Dear Lord, Will, that means that June's right around the corner. Man, this month has just flown by. So, but this, starting on the 29th, you'll be able to get yourself a really big heavy hitter, but Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PC. Really excited about that, and I know actually June 6th, Microsoft is having a tournament. So check that out, noobsandpros.com, for that game. The Journey Down, Chapter 1 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That is still the 29th. That actually looks pretty cool. So, looks very kind of creepy, actually, in a way. Like dolls, kind of. Yoku's, I don't even know how to pronounce half these names. Yoku's Island Express on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. Here's a game that I am going to get, and I'm going to videotape myself playing, because apparently when we did Mike Plays Outlast 2, it was one of our biggest hitted shows ever. I don't know if I'm going to make it 30 minutes into this game, though. This game looks terrifying to me. Agony. It's finally coming out.
Yes.
Yeah, PlayStation 4 and PC. Obviously, I'll get it on PC so we can record everything. Yeah, I'm not too terribly excited to play that game and record myself screaming.
I hope that
screaming like a girl.
I hope that it's good.
Yeah, I really do,
I mean,
too. It looks beautiful.
It's been like we've been waiting a really long time for this game.
Yeah.
And everything I've seen looks really gross and creepy.
Yeah.
But I hope it's just not really gross and creepy, but terrible.
Right.
What I mean?
I hope it has a good story behind it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope that there's enough to it to make it a good game.
Me too.
So, I guess we'll see.
I don't know. You're not the one going to be wearing Outlast 2 diapers and playing it. So, I will, though.
Right.
Right. But you can also, on the 29th, get yourself Die for Valhalla. That is on PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Harvest Moon, Light of Hope on the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Cabounce on PlayStation 4. Knights of Pen and Paper, PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Metal Slug 20, finally happening, PlayStation 4. Also, you can get yourself Moonlighter on the PlayStation 4 and PC, which is... I know that game's been up before on PC and Xbox One, so finally coming over to PlayStation 4. That's pretty neat. No Heroes Here. That is going to be on PlayStation 4. Oh, Sir, the Hollywood Roast. That is a roast game, and I heard it was actually pretty delightful. That's been out before on obviously Mac, PC, but it's coming over to PlayStation 4. Old Man's Journey on PlayStation 4. The Perfect Sniper on PlayStation 4. Shift Quantum on PlayStation 4, To the Top on PlayStation 4, Owlboy on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. Jesus, I just feel like they have so many games coming out. Oh man, we keep going. Sega Genesis Classics, that is Xbox One, PlayStation 4. Legend of K Anniversary on Nintendo Switch. Ikuraga, on Nintendo Switch. Masked Force, actually, hold on one second. That was it for the 29th. And then starting on the 31st, you can get yourself Masked Forces on Nintendo Switch. West of Loathing on Nintendo Switch. Icy on the Nintendo Switch. Just Shapes and Beats on the Nintendo Switch. Songbringer on the Nintendo Switch. Oh, God. You ever just stop and wonder, the two systems that actually put out video games, you missing a third here? I'm just wondering. Any takers? Oh, Microsoft. You?
No, there's...
Okay. Yeah.
I don't actually didn't think there was another system.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Xbox over here in the corner though does have his hand up, so I don't know if I want to call on him though. Dear God. Songbringer on Nintendo Switch. Kido Advance Kentaro's Revenge on PlayStation 4. Melanor on PlayStation 4. Overload on PC. Earth Atlantis on the 1st. And The Pillage on... The Pillage on PC, that's on the 1st as well. And that's it. If you guys don't have something to play this week, then shame on you. Next week, there's a game that we told you not to buy coming out, but we'll talk about it later. But dear Lord, that was a lot of video games between PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Wow. That's a hefty amount. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's like 32 games. That was ridiculous. Unreal. Just this week alone between PlayStation 4 and Switch, with PC and Xbox sprinkled in. I feel like Xbox and PC are the kind of the what do you call them? Sprinkles. Yeah, sprinkles on top. Everything else is just like, you have your pie, you have your topping, you have all your filling. That's that's PlayStation and that's the Switch, and then you just have those sprinkles of Xbox on top sometimes. So sorry.
Sometimes
it's sad. It's sad but true. If you don't like it, change your ways. That's all I'm saying, Xbox. Well, let's talk about the news. There was a lot that happened this week. Interesting stories, controversial stories. We'll get into that today. But the first thing I wanted to start off with, though, is that Sony may be going mini. So right now, this is the news you can use. Sony may be going mini. Sony Interactive Entertainment. The CEO, John Kodera, said in an interview that the company has been in talks about working on a classic mini console. He said, "We are constantly digging up past assets. I think there are various ways to do a classic console. There have been discussions, there's been discussions happening with the company of what kind of ways there are. The original Sony PlayStation 1 launched back in 1994. It brought instant classic titles, would go on for years, and obviously sequels like Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid. Now the trend for classic gaming has been created by Nintendo's release of obviously the NES and SNES mini gaming matches. They were so popular they sold out at launch. A mini classic console essentially looks like the original, but a smaller form factor with the loaded pre-games in it on a local memory. That usually just means the best games you can remember back in the day. But I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think it would actually be a good idea for Sony to jump on the bandwagon with that. I think they have the game catalog that they could do it. I don't know if it would be the same nostalgic feeling as the NES and the classic and the Super Nintendo NES. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. How would you feel about that, Will? Because realistically, I kind of feel like PlayStation was groundbreaking in the day, obviously, because you have to figure we had Nintendo, we had Sega, but that was like 32-bit at the top, at pushing before Sony busted into the market. I don't even know what games I would really want to play on there, like honestly, that you can't already play. And I think that's the problem with like backwards compatibility and past back catalogs is because a lot of that stuff you can play right now. You don't need to go buy that stuff. So I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead with what you're going to say. I'm sorry.
That my thing is that there's I think there's a line that we shouldn't pass as far as time.
Yeah.
When you look at certain games.
Sure.
Because when you look at old Nintendo games, they were very simplistic, but they were still fun, and the graphics, it's not like they hold up,
Sure.
but because of the style of that, and then the same thing with the Super Nintendo and even Genesis and even maybe I think N64 is starting to push it. But
Sure.
all of those, like, you look at them and they're still fun to play when you look at them. The graphics are still like, good for that time, but not where you look at it now and go, ugh, I don't like that. PlayStation 1, looking at those games now, they just look bad. Even the games that were really good.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
games,
it's because that 3D rendering was at the
Right.
very start
of it,
and
yeah.
everything was still very weird and blocky looking. And that's why so many of those games are being remade and remastered now. Is
Right.
because people have the rose-tinted glasses and think that those games were amazing, but then they go back and look at them now and go, ugh.
Yeah.
At the time, I love this game, and your brain remembers those graphics from back then, thinking that they're better than they actually were.
Right.
So
just because it was something that you've never seen before. Yeah.
Right. I couldn't care less about a PS a PlayStation Classic.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for me. It wouldn't even be a buy, like something that I would buy.
Yeah, like I said, I agree with you 100%. Because I mean, at the time, like if you grew up with it, obviously that was something brand new that you've never seen before. So of course it looked amazing. But I've had the rose tinted glasses before because I've gone back and like I played on the PlayStation their View service, older games. And I was like, oh my God, like I can't even play this because it's so blocky or it's just so, janky. But at the time I was like, oh man, this is the greatest game ever. This is, so cool. Because I remember I was playing Max Payne. I love the Max Payne series. Just absolutely loved it. Loved 1, 2, 3. Don't care what you say about 3, but I loved them. But I went back and played them, on the service, and I was like, what am I thinking? I'm like, I don't even know how to play this anymore. I was like, it's so blocky, and it's like, yeah, bullet time is cool, but it only, at the time, I think the nostalgia factor only lasts so long. I mean, because I can play the Super Nintendo Classic and I can play my NES Classic, which is fine because I think, that style of animation that they had or the style of graphics that they had at that time, I still think holds value to this day because the way it was made,
Yep.
But then you start,
exactly.
Yeah, like you said, you start getting into the years where we started doing 3D rendering and 3D animation and stuff like that, and it was just super infant. It would almost like, I feel like it's like going back and playing like Pong. Like it's like because that was the start of video games. Like that's kind of how I feel. Or like plugging in a game to the Atari before Nintendo came out. Like I feel like I'm playing Atari sometimes when I'm playing these old 3D rendered video games because that's where they started, is these systems, which is not a bad thing. But I would say for anybody growing up in the technology we have today with smooth shading, and all these powerful engines and stuff like that and realism, it's hard to get back into. It really is. So,
yeah,
I mean, some games still hold their value. I mean, and that brings me up to my next story is that the Nintendo N64 Mini may be coming sooner than we thought. So basically, there was an application was spotted by a Japanese Nintendo. There was a blog actually spotted by Japanese Nintendo and fueling rumors of an N64 Mini around the internet. Also, if you combine the fact that Nintendo last year filed a trademark for the image of the N64 controller, that kind of is not pointing to them saying no. I think they're going to do this. The only thing that I can honestly think about though is like, I remember GoldenEye. I remember Banjo-Kazooie. I remember, Donkey Kong Country and things like that. And I love those games, but, it's hard to get back into them. I know there's still a huge following for GoldenEye. I know that's still huge. And I know there's still Smash Brothers that people still play on N64. I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I just feel like because that was it was like a restart of a new generation of, video games. I just feel like I would compare it to almost like Atari. Like when Atari first came out, that was like the first push of into-home console video games, but it was like super, janky and dotty and, really, 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 really rough in a lot of video games. That's kind of how I feel. So
yeah,
I'm not against it because I know obviously there's the nostalgia factor there. I know that people will buy it. It's going to happen. You can say, no, it'll never pick up.
Yep.
It'll sell out. People will want it. But the thing is I just don't know if it's for me, So That's all I'm going to say about it. Because I'm not against it. I just don't know if it's for me. Just because I remember, I when you grow up in it, it's a different story, I guess. But I guess, for younger generations or people that really like nostalgia, I think it's going to have the same fire and same passion that the Nintendo Classic did, or the Nintendo Super Nintendo Classic did. Because I got those, and I mean, there was lines out the door for those things. So I think it's going to be the same situation. So,
yeah, pretty much.
But the next story I wanted to go over, we're gonna kind of skip one story, and then we'll pick it up at the end, because I think it's going to be a good talking point for the end of the show, and I don't want to bring down the show that early. But the next game I want to talk about is, I don't know if you saw this. This game's already out right now, but it did get finally a release date. But Earthfall is finally coming out.
Yeah.
If you guys are fans of like Left 4 Dead or anything like that, you are gonna love Earthfall. It's the same thing. It's like Left 4 Dead. It's pretty much exactly like it. It's just with aliens instead of zombies. So the developer,
I played it.
Have you? It's on a PC early access right now, isn't it? Yeah.
At PAX twice. They had it 2 different years. They had it at PAX, and it's definitely a cool game.
Yeah. So, but yeah, HoloSpark has announced that their multiplayer co-op shooter Earthfall is set to release July 13th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, priced at $30, $29.99. They also revealed that they're going to team up with Gearbox, publishing the retail release, and also a form of a deluxe version, deluxe edition, which will cost $10 more, so it'd be $39.99. That's not too bad for deluxe. They said it's going to include an exclusive hazmat outfits and weapons and skin if you buy the collectors. It's been available on PC. I know that for a fact. As a Steam Early Access game, as of last year, in April 26th of 2017. So it's been out since 2017. But it's kind of exciting to see that that's coming out, because I know a lot of people still play Left 4 Dead. So if you've been jonesing for a new video game just like that, I would definitely go pick that one up. But also kind of in the same lines of video game being released, Mega Man 11 got a release date leaked. The release date of Capcom's Mega Man 11 appears to have been leaked by PlayStation Store. Listing went up early. Capcom's new Mega Man game was announced last year with a release time frame of somewhere in 2018. But according to the store listing, this to include a release date, it appears that it will be out everywhere, October 3rd. So very, very cool that we're going to be able to see a new Mega Man game that soon. So, man, it's been a long time since they did the last Mega Man game. I would say probably a good...
Yeah.
When was 10 coming out, man? I don't remember. Maybe...
It's been a while.
Yeah, maybe 8-9 years ago, maybe, roughly. It's been a while, yeah. So, it'd be really cool to see a new Mega Man game. I'm actually pretty excited. I love Mega Man, so... But if you guys have, I did not know this about H1Z1, but H1Z1 was one of the original Battle Royale games, which I think H1Z1 got passed over because it was, you did have to buy it, and you did have to, obviously, I think it still has a huge following in some areas, but not like the PUBG or the Fortnite following. But apparently, ever since H1Z1, they offer, obviously, this free-to-play model. In less than 24 hours, the game surpassed 1.5 million players, and then 2 days later, it went by 4.5 million players. So ever since they went free to play for their Battle Royale engine, people are downloading it like no other. Apparently, if you give free video games to people will play them. Interesting.
Right?
So, yeah, I know, right? So
it's confusing to me, though, because H1Z1, when they first announced it, was supposed to be the Sony version of like the Armor mod. What was that called? DayZ.
Sure. Yeah.
Be like a PvP game, like survival kind of game, where you go into the world, and you remember those were really popular for a while, where you get dropped into the world and there's, all the zombies or whatever, and then you collect everything you can, and you just live as long as you can.
Right.
That was the original when that game first was announced. That's what it was. And then they did like a retooling of it into a battlegrounds type game instead. So it was definitely it changed from the original to that, and it's been around for a long time.
Yeah,
so,
like I said, it's not a new game. I mean, it's been out for, I remember H1Z1 being out for forever, but I guess this new Battle Royale mode, obviously, catching fire everywhere else, they were like, well, we can try it too. And apparently it's my buddy Brian, obviously from Noobs and Pros. I mean, he said he likes it. He said it's a lot easier to play than Fortnite. So he actually really is enjoying it, and I've heard good things about it all around, actually. So I may have to go check it out. I mean, obviously it's free to play, so might as well. It's not like you're gonna lose anything. So, but the last game I wanted to go over before we go over our final topic, I'll give it to obviously just a warning. The final topic probably going to tick you off. It ticked us off, and we're going to go over it. But the last topic we want to go over before we go over that is Battlefield 5. Big time in the news this week. We told you to tune in because the release information was being released. So here's what we know. Battlefield 5's release date is set for October 19th. There's going to be an open beta prior to launch, while EA and Origin Access members can play it for basically a limited number of hours starting October 11th. So if you're an EA member, definitely pays off to be one. Alternatively, you can begin playing the full game, obviously, October 16th. So they are going to do a thing if you do pre-order the game, the deluxe edition, you can play early, 3 days early. Well, they said this. They said, while the focus is still based off the class-based engagements and battles with large player counts, Battlefield 5 will incorporate several new features into the mix. In the trailer, if you guys haven't watched the trailer as of yet, go check it out. It actually looks really cool. We saw a squad of soldiers taking part in a large-scale fight in a French countryside. The characters had a unique look to them. One had a blue face paint, and another female soldier had a prosthetic limb, which was really weird to see. It was like a robot arm. This helped to showcase one of the bigger focuses in Battlefield 5, which is squad customization. With the class system making a return, players will be able to basically select a class, outfit the soldier either male or female, whatever tools, weapons, and cosmetic items they like. Furthermore, you can upgrade the class to a specialization, such as an assault class focusing more on anti-tank skills. Also added a greater level of detail to physics, which are way above previous titles. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out, because it does look like they really spent some time on this one. The developers stressed that they want to add more elements to realism while still remaining fun and excitement in the Battlefield series. For starters, the player weapon animations and physics have been overhauled to offer a more tactical and kinetic feel. Soldiers now have a greater range of movement, which includes reverse prone, on your back, sliding, shooting while sliding, and so there are several other maneuvers, like grabbing nearby walls and gates. Moreover, weapons now have weight behind them, allowing players to get more sense of force behind each shot. New animations with gameplay focus on balancing, with basically, I guess it was a reoccurring problem in Battlefield 1 was balancing. It says medics, for instance, will take more care while reviving players. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the game's going to be about, because they honestly, they said it was a reimagination of Battlefield, and it looks amazing, but it looks like kind of science fiction. Well, it looks like we have, far more advanced technology than what they did in World War II. So I'm kind of wondering, like, where they're going with this, because, like, yeah, the woman with the prosthetic arm, to me, it almost looked like a robot arm, which obviously wasn't around.
It did look like a robot arm.
Yeah, which wasn't around, obviously, in World War II. And the more I read about this, it basically sounds like they're doing a reimagination of World War II. If that's the case, bravo to you guys. For being
almost like
imaginative. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. I'm sorry. That was all I wanted to say.
I was going to say it's almost like they took like a steampunk twist to it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it has that, like, it's still retro, it's still World War II, it's still that time period, but yet they added in mechanics that shouldn't exist in that world.
Yeah.
Which is, like you said, like almost like a bionic-y, robot-y arm thing. So it looks very much like they took like a steampunk universe and threw it in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to carry over to like the machinery as well. But like you said, that would be a great twist. to add to it and make it something unique.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And the trailer of the actual gameplay footage, it looks insane.
Amazing. It looks amazing.
Like the planes that were crashing left and right, and just like the craziness that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It might be one that I actually go and play.
I think
I haven't really been in love with any of those games, but this one looks really good.
Well, I love Battlefield 1. Like I've always been a fan of Battlefield. Like I don't know what it is. Like if I had to choose between Call of Duty and Battlefield to me is always one.
Oh, Battlefield always. All day.
Yeah, all day. So, I mean, and I don't hate Call of Duty. I played the Call of Duty games as well, but I would just say Battlefield has always had the better edge on these war games. So I love Battlefield 1. Absolutely loved it. Could not sing its praises loud enough. Just unreal how well they did World War I. And you're thinking like, oh my God, World War I, this is going to be horrible. No, they did an amazing job. This looks just as amazing. And I mean, World War II has been done to death. But then to step outside your box and, not try to make it into a World War II games like, Call of Duty did, which failed horribly. And to reimagine and put different aspects and, think outside the box of like, what if we did this or what if this had this? To me, that means that somebody's doing their job and somebody's, they have people that are being, taking an initiative to be creative. And that's what this world is missing is creativity. Because, I mean, we're talking about movies that get rebooted every 10 years. We have a reboot of some movie that's just god awful. And it's like nobody has any original stories. All the movies out there right now, the majority of them are basically just reboots of things. And it's like, and then they just expect us to swallow this pill over and over and over again. So I just think to take a video game and not make it the same, even though it's the same topic, to just keep doing it, even though we've done probably, like 20 or 30 World War II games, to do another World War II game, but to take a different spin on it, that's brilliant to me. So I'm excited. I mean, from what I saw in the trailer, just unreal, and I'm really excited. I think I'm gonna get the pre-order, maybe even get the deluxe edition. The other cool thing that I think is a good direction that they're finally going with too, is that they're not making you pay for DLC this time. So all DLC is going to be free in this one. Sounds like somebody's finally getting the hint.
Way it should be. Yeah.
Well, it seems like the companies are finally getting the hint. So you can't nickel and dime us for something that we know you're it's already in the game and you're just basically just being a jerk about. So Bungie.
And one other thing, if I do get the game, the one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to play as a girl because you know what? Spoiler alert, there were women that fought in World War II.
What's been up with that lately? That's been a huge hoopla on the internet of people being upset about girls being in this. Like, seriously. Yeah, there were...
It's insane. There were quite a few women that served and fought in World War II.
No, I just think it was funny. They're just like, this is historically inaccurate. No, there was just men fighting. You're an idiot.
No,
No.
Yeah. You're dumb in the face.
Right.
Sorry. Great. Thanks for coming.
I read that article this week, and I'm just like, just ignorance of people sometimes just makes me laugh so hard. Like, just because if you really knew the history of the wars, if you really knew the history of how America was founded, if you really knew the history of just anything, I have to laugh at some people like getting so like proud about something like the whole, like, down in the South, I have to use the South as an example, but they're so proud of the statues of racism and stuff like that weren't, they're like, this is history. This is, this is my heritage. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Those statues were erected in Jim Crow laws to basically put people on their places. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But if you really want to know the truth, go study. Yeah. Unreal, though. So, but
read a book.
Well, the reason I bring up ignorance is because we have to talk about our last story here before we get out of here. And that's a new video game that may be in the works here. Now, we can't confirm, obviously, if this will ever see the light of day. But to even know that it's an idea out there right now, it doesn't offend me. It really doesn't, and I'll explain why in a minute, okay? But it's a dumb idea. It's really ignorant. It's a really dumb idea, especially in the world today that we live in where everybody's so sensitive. But there's a new video game being developed called Active Shooter. And it's basically a video game as it sounds. It's a video game based upon school shootings. It's going to be a first-person shooter, which will mimic the school shooting from the point of the view of the shooter. So basically, you're playing a school shooter. Not cool, man. I'm sorry. It's just it's not a cool idea to do something like that. The reason it doesn't offend me, though, to be honest with you, is because I understand people get all up in arms about we need to get rid of guns and things like that. Here's the thing, though, and this is just me speaking. I understand you're against guns and you think you're against guns, but honestly, deep down rooted of the problem, though, is you're against mass violence, okay? Everybody is. We don't want to see our children die. Yep. We don't want to see anybody die from mass violence. And unfortunately, it's the world we live in, is that we're making shooters into rock stars. And even the kids down in Florida said this: how about next time that we have a mass shooting, let's not even say the name of the shooter, because I guarantee you this is the mindset that a lot of kids have that do these shootings, is they see this stuff on TV, they see how popular it's going to get, they say, I can do this too, I've been bullied, I've been doing this, I'll just go and kill a bunch of people and then I'll be famous. That's a lot of the times, that's the mindset of this, and unfortunately it's sad but true. But to trivialize this, to popularize an idea like this, first of all, you're not helping our industry, okay? You're not helping the video game industry. We're supposed to be together as video gamers. We're not supposed to be promoting violence like this. I understand that video games are violent sometimes in nature. That's why we have a rating system. But to just blatantly go out there and be like, now we're making an active shooter game so kids can be active shooters. I don't know whose idea with this. I don't know if Johnson's in the corner. Sorry, Johnson, but you're an idiot. That's all I'm going to say. Like I said, I know we live in America where we have freedom of speech, but this is really stupid. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a really dumb idea, and you have the ability in the game to play also as a SWAT person going in to try to take down the shooter.
Sure.
So you can play on either side of it, but
it's just not a good idea.
Two things. One, we have fought and shown so much, like there's been so much study that shows that violence in video games and playing violent video games does not turn you into a violent person, or even desensitize you to being a shooter, doing acts of violence.
Right.
So that being said, also it's been shown that I think what is it? Pretty much all of these shooters that are going in and killing people, most of them don't even play video games. They weren't video game people.
That's fine.
And so
but I don't think we should. I don't think we should make this. I don't think we should make this into something that shines a light on that. I really don't.
No,
I
don't think we should glorify. There shouldn't be a game that glorifies what they're doing, because then it's giving them credibility. It's giving them their validation.
That's it. Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying, is that we're making them into rock stars at this point. It's like, we're like, wow, you can get your own video game out of it. Wow, you can get your name on the news. If you don't think that will have repercussions in the future of more shootings happening, look, I know that violence is going to happen. I know more people die of getting stabbed by knives than getting shot by guns. I know the facts. But to glorify it, though, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's not glorify this crap anymore. Let's put it in its place as this is mass violence. This is, something is wrong with that individual. We should not give them a media platform to be praised on. And that's what they're doing here. I don't think it's right at all. Like I said, I know we live in America. You have freedom of choice and freedom of speech. I know sometimes that obviously there's a fine line to that because of political correctness. But like I said, let's not glorify this. That's all I'm going to say. And
this game is just bad taste.
It's just bad taste. It really is. It really is. I agree with you. But hopefully it won't, maybe the I don't think it will. I don't think it's going to ever do good in the community, because I guarantee you once this pops up, for a demo or anything like that, I don't think people will be cool with it. So just because we live in such a PC world right now. But I don't know what else to say about that besides obviously we have the power not to buy it. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
The last thing I did want to cover too is obviously a huge bucket of wind for how he lived his life, but just major loss obviously with the video game industry. Ted Dabney, co-founder of Atari, he passed away at the age of 80. I really wish him and his family, obviously, good thoughts and prayers their way. But yeah, he was born in 1937. He had was it esophageal, esophageal? There we go. Esophageal cancer.
Esophageal.
Esophageal. Yeah. He was diagnosed in 2017, and he was told he didn't have long to live, but he beat the odds apparently. But yeah, died at the age of 80. He was the co-founder with Steve Bushnell on Atari. So yeah, like I said, really good vibes and prayers out their way, because he was huge. Obviously, founder of Atari. So that's where video games really got their start. But that's all the time we had today. Do check us out on our website. Obviously, go to noobsandpros.com. Go to the tab that says the podcast. It's just all our information's right there. You can check out our Facebook, Twitter, everything where you can find us streaming. Like I said, we'll be doing a lot more streaming, maybe even taking the podcast live on video again very soon. So stay tuned for that. But that's all we had today. We do thank you for listening. Yep. We love you. We'll see you next week, and just be kind to one another. That's all I can ever honestly ask of you. So we're all in this together. You remember that. But for Michael Wolf and that gentleman right there,
good old Will Small.
Good old Will Small. We do thank you for listening. Tune in next week, and we'll have more of our hijinks and crazy stories. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Dads That Game radio podcast. Email us your questions and hate mail to dadsthatgamepodcast@gmail.com.